class. In today's lecture, we will going to discuss one of the important features in the crystallographic solids, which is called voids. So as the name suggests, void means an empty space. If you remember, when we were discussed the linear and planar density in the unit cells, you have found out that the packing efficiency of all kind of unit cells is less than 1. In fact, the highest possible packing that one can achieve in the solids is for close pack structures, namely face centered cubic and hexagonal close pack structures, which was 74% of the total volume. That means even in the most dense packing, you have at least 26% of the space available as empty. So what is the importance of this empty space in materials property? We have been taught in our primary school days that materials property drastically changes when you dope the material. Now, doping could be intentional to alter the properties, or sometime the material may possess foreign elements as impurity into it, which also affects its characteristic. So in either way, whether you intentionally dope the material or due to some other reasons, maybe of processing or manufacturing, the material may exhibit foreign elements as impurities. So where these dopants or impurities will lie within the crystalline solid. So one of the most likely possible space where these dopants or impurities may be present is this particular empty space. Therefore, understanding the empty spaces in the unit cell is very, very important. Now onwards, we will refer this empty space as void, and our interest is in two important category of voids. Amongst the two, the first one is called the tetrahedral void. Now, where exactly the tetrahedral void is? So, to locate the tetrahedral void, I urge you to focus on the rightmost unit cell. In that particular unit cell, you can see that I have interconnected 4 atoms with the red color line. You can see the 4 atoms are the one is the corner atom, and the other 3 atoms are corresponding central atoms of the faces. So if I interconnect these 4 atoms, it forms a tetrahedron, and this interlying space, the empty space in the middle of this tetrahedron, is being referred as the tetrahedral void. Other way to look at this tetrahedral void is an empty space available between triangular geometry. Which triangular geometry I am referring? Let me show that. I am referring this particular triangular geometry. Let me use other color so that you can see it. This is the triangular geometry that we are referring, and the 4th atom is on the top of this. So you have a triangle which is basically making a base, and then there is a 4th atom which is on the top of that. So you can consider this geometry to be like this one, where you have three coplanar atoms. Let me show them. These are the center to center distance of lower two atoms, and then it is connected here and it is connected here. So whenever you make a triangular arrangement of these spheres, you get an empty space which is here. You can see the empty space in between, and on the top of that I have my fourth atom, which is basically this atom. So this atom is on the top of the three coplanar atom, precisely sitting over that empty space. So your valley is beneath this particular top atom into the middle region. So if I want to show it here, I can show it like this. This region is the region where your void exists. So this particular void is being referred as the tetrahedral void. Now, how many such voids exist in a FCC unit cell? So you can compute them very easily. Looking at the geometry of the void, you can tell that the void lies immediately beneath the corner atom. So how many corners we have in the unit cell? We have 8 corners. So we have 8 possible positions of the tetrahedral void, one each against every corner, which you can see in the lower left unit cell. Here we have marked all possible positions of the tetrahedral void. You can see each tetrahedral void corresponds to one of the corner sides. So you have 4 front corners and 4 back corners. So out of the 8, you have 4 voids that lies in the front and the remaining 4 that lies on the back side. Let me show the front. These two and these two are the front voids, while the other two refers to the back face voids. This one and this one refers to the back corner voids. So you can compute there are 8 tetrahedral voids in one unit cell. Another important question is, what is the position of the void in the unit cell? So you can describe the position of the void in terms of its location along the body diagonal. If I show you the body diagonal in the upper unit cell, you can see that it lies along the body diagonal. Let me draw the body diagonal. So you can see your void is actually lying on the body diagonal. So its position on the body diagonal is 1/4 of the total length. And we know that body diagonal is the one which has all the 3 coordinates, which is non-zero. So out of the total length, the position of the tetrahedral void is 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. And if you measure vis-a-vis to the opposite corner, that means instead of using the origin here, if I choose the origin in the opposite corner, means here, then the position of the tetrahedral void will be 3/4, 3/4, 3/4. So you can describe the position of two opposite tetrahedral valleys as one position at 1 by 4, 1 by 4, 1 by 4, while the other is position at 3 by 4, 3 by 4, 3 by 4. Remember, in defining the position of the valley, we always use a dedicated origin in one of the corners of its own body diagonal. What does I mean? I have one particular set of coordinates for one body diagonal. Let's say my body diagonal is this one. So for this, I have one set of two valleys. Then I have this one, another set of two valleys. Then I have this one, another set of two valleys. And then I have this particular one, another set of two valleys. So for every body diagonal, I get two valley position. One of them is at 1 by 4, 1 by 4, 1 by 4 position, and the other one is at 3 by 4, 3 by 4, 3 by 4 position. If you find out the volume of the tetrahedron, which you can easily do, and take the ratio of the volume of the tetrahedron vis-a-vis to the volume of the unit cell, you will find out that it comes out to be 1 by 24th. So a very small volume of the total unit cell is being occupied by one of the tetrahedral void. I am not deriving this portion at this point. I hope everybody will be able to take the ratio of two volumes and can verify this fact by yourself. Another important thing is, if I have an empty space available at the tetrahedral void, what will be the largest possible size of an atom which I can fit into this particular void? So the largest possible size which one can fit at the tetrahedral void is being defined in terms of its radius ratio vis-a-vis to the corner atoms. So it is being defined in terms of this particular expression, that the radius ratios of the atom that can sit into the void, that is R of void, is this. R of void is this particular, and R of atom is basically this one. So if I take the ratio of these two, R void to R atom, it is coming out to be 0.225. In later slides, I will show this derivation to you, that the largest possible atom that can sit into a tetrahedral void is having its radius ratio vis-a-vis to the lattice atoms, or you can say the corner atoms, is 0.225. That means the size of the atom that goes into the tetrahedral void is very, very small, roughly 22.5% of the size of the corner atom. What I am trying to mean? I am trying to mean that tetrahedral void or tetrahedral valley is the region which is very small, and therefore only smaller size atoms can occupy this position. Any doubt up to this point? Okay, I guess there are no doubts up to this point. So let's proceed further. The unit cell possesses another important valley, which is called an octahedral valley. As the name suggests, the valley is being formed by an octahedron. You remember the geometrical face called octahedron, which has in fact has 8 faces. You can consider an octahedron to be 2 inverted pyramids joined with each other. So that geometry is referred as the octahedron. To locate the octahedral void, I urge you to focus on the rightmost unit cell. So let's focus on the rightmost unit cell. You can see your unit cell is again an FCC structure. Now focus on the region which is formed by interconnecting the face-centered atoms. So I am interconnecting the face-centered atoms just to bring your attention there. These are two opposite. Then this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. So if I interconnect all of them, you can see there is a large empty space at the center of these intersection points. For better clarity, I am using the middle unit cell to point that position. So that particular position is basically this dot which I have marked in green color. So this is an empty space in the FCC unit cell which is positioned itself precisely in the middle of face-centered atoms. So this particular position is your octahedral valley. You can represent this octahedral valley as the valley that is created between two coplanar planes. I call them plane A and plane B. So what is plane A and what is plane B? Let's look at the 3 atoms marked as atom A on the schematic diagram, which is on top left corner. So for better clarity, I am marking the 3 A atoms centers. So it's a center to center of an atom A. Then this one and then this one. So it is precisely same as what we had in the tetrahedral valley. And in case of tetrahedral valley, we have one atom on the top of this. Now instead, in the octahedral valley, we have another layer of atoms, or say plane of atoms, which I call the B atoms, that sits on the top of a layer of atoms in a way their centers lies like this. Right? So when you arrange them like this and put one atom on the top of this and another atom on the back of this, you can see there is an empty space which is lying in the middle. I am marking that empty space. The empty space is here. Let me mark it with an arrow as well. I am referring this particular position. So this particular position is your octahedral void. Remember, the nearest coordinates of an octahedral void is, let us compute that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So it's a valley that is created between 6 nearest neighbors. Or you can say the coordination number for an octahedral void is 6 because it has 6 nearest neighbor to it. You can also tell the center to center distance between the valley and one of the face atom. You know this particular distance, face to face distance, is equal to lattice parameter A, and the distance that we are referring is half of it. So the distance is A by 2. Or indirectly, it gives you the position of the valley, which is 1/2, 1/2, 1/2 along the body diagonal, because it is precisely the center of the unit cell. Now, some students might be getting confused that, sir, if an atom is in the middle of the unit cell, we used to call the structure as the body-centered cubic structure. Why you are calling it now the octahedral valley? So what is the difference between the central position in the body-centered cubic unit cell and in the face-centered cubic unit cell possessing an empty space? The difference is, in the body-centered cubic unit cell, your atom at the corner and your atom in the middle is same. In case if it is a tetrahedral void in the FCC unit cell, then your corner atoms are different from the one that can go and sit in the middle of the unit cell, which we call the tetrahedral void. Is it clear? Okay. Now the next important question is, how many how many octahedral voids we have in one unit cell? So everybody can see the middle position, which is marked. So one octahedral void everybody can see, but there are many more apart from this particular position. So let me try to show you the other position of the octahedral voids. Now carefully look at the lower left unit cell. Remember, the position of an octahedral void is between 6 equidistant atoms. Say I am marking the first valley, which was easy to mark in the middle. So this was the first one, which lies at the intersection of 6 equidistant atoms. So this particular position was our first octahedral void. Now apart from that, every center of a side is also an octahedral void. So I ask you to focus on this particular position, which I am marking in green. Look at this particular position, the center of one of the side. Now, if this position is an octahedral void, then it should be surrounded by 6 atoms at equal distance. Let us check. This is atom 1, atom 2, and atom 3. Everybody can see at least these 3 atoms. The other 3 atoms are slightly difficult to observe. If I go vertically up from this position somewhere here, then I will find another atom, which is the face centered atom of this particular side face. So I do have an atom here. I do have an atom here. So now you can see at least 4 atoms. 1, 2, 3, 4. Where is the fifth one? The fifth one is, sorry, the fifth one is here. You can see the fifth atom, and the sixth atom will come on the front upper face. So if I draw the upper face as projection, something like this. If I draw a front face, something like this, then I can have one more atom here. So the center of the side face is surrounded by 6 atoms which are all at an equidistance. So this position is also the octahedral void. I am just clearing the drawings so that I can mark the positions now very clearly. So how many such voids we have now? We have 4 sides on the top face. So 4 on the top, 4 at the bottom, and 2 each on the sides. Why 2 each only? Why not 4? Because the other 2 is already counted either on the top plane or in the bottom plane. So you have in fact 12 sides, each being occupied by one possible octahedral void. And of course, you have one more in the middle. So if I now compute, I have 4 here, I have 4 here, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So total is, I have 13 octahedral voids in one unit cell. Now, if you compute the volume ratios of volume of the octahedron to the volume of the unit cell, it comes out to be 1/6 of the unit cell volume. So I guess everybody can do this. You can yourself find out the volume of the octahedron and take its ratio with the volume of the unit cell. The radius ratio for largest possible atom that can sit into this particular void vis-a-vis to the corner atom is equal to 0.414. That means the largest possible atom that can go and occupy this valley is having roughly 41.4% of the size of the corner atom. So it will still be a relatively smaller size atom that can go and occupy the octahedral void. The typical size will be roughly half or rather smaller than the half of the corner atom. But if you compare it to the previous case, the tetrahedral void, you can see the size is nearly doubled. So your octahedral void is relatively larger void as compared to the tetrahedral void. Is it clear up to this point? Okay, let's proceed further. Now, we are deriving quickly the radius ratios for the tetrahedral void and the octahedral void. If you remember our discussion on unit cells, we have proven that the length of the body diagonal was equal to root 3a. You remember the side face is equal to a and a. So the length of the face diagonal was root 2a, and since this is root 2a and this was a, the length of the body diagonal was root 3a, right? So we have our length of the body diagonal, which is equal to root 3a. And if you look into the along the body diagonal, you can see only two opposite corner atoms only. So it will be equal to 2r, where capital R represents the radius of the corner atom. So your root 3a is equal to 2r is the condition in the FCC unit cell. Now, if I put an smaller atom with a radius small r into the tetrahedral void, that means I am putting one small atom here. You assume it to be small, or let me draw a smaller atom. Let's say this is the smaller atom in the void. Remember, in the actual packing, the edges of the atom touches each other. So the distance between lattice atom, that is the corner atom, and the void atom, which is equal to r plus r. I am referring this particular distance. This particular distance, center to center distance between the corner atom and the valley atom is equal to r plus r, which will be equal to 1/4 of the total length of the body diagonal. You remember the position of the tetrahedral void is at 1/4 of the body diagonal. So our length of the body diagonal was root 3a. Therefore, r plus r will be equal to under root 3a by 4. Now in FCC lattice, the closest distance of packing is root 2a. This is along the face diagonal, root 2a, which was equal to 4r. I told you to remember this for the FCC unit cell. Whenever you want the correlation between the lattice parameter and the radius of the atom, you should look along the direction which is most densely packed, which is in this case the face diagonal, whose length is root 2a, and how many radius that we have in this. So 1r from the corner, the full atom in the middle of the face, and another r at the opposite corner. So r plus 2r plus r makes it to be 4r. So I can rewrite this in terms of a. It will become 4r by root 2, and I can substitute this in the upper expression. So I am submitting the value of a here. So my r plus r is equal to root 3 by 4. Instead of a, I placed 2 root 2 r. So I am substituting this number. It comes out to be under root 6r by 2. So if I change the side of both the capital R on one side and then divide it with the capital R, I get R by R is equal to under root 6 by 2 minus 1. And if you compute this number, it is coming out to be 0.225. Is it clear? The procedure is clear. So this indicates that the radius ratio of the tetrahedral void atom to the lattice atom, which is the corner atom, it is coming out to be only 22.5% of the size of the corner atom. Okay, let's quickly do the same exercise for the octahedral void as well. In case of octahedral void, the process is relatively easy. Let us look at in the direction passing through the octahedral valley, which is lying in the middle of the unit cell. So I am looking into this particular direction, which I have just marked with the blue color arrow. So what is its total length? It's the distance from one face to the other face. So my total length is equal to A. And how many atoms are there on this line? I have two face atoms and one valley atom. So the size of the valley, let's say I am defining it as X. So the total length A is equal to 2 small r, where small r represents the corner atom. So this is your corner atom plus 2x, where x represents the octahedral void atom. So 2r plus 2x is equal to A. Now we want to replace A in terms of the r. Whenever you want to do that, you should use the closest back direction, which we had just seen in the previous case. Let me go back there. I have shown that in the previous case here in the abscissa lattice, we have this root 2a is equal to 4r. Which was that position? That position was this particular position. It has 4r distance, r from here, 2r from the middle, and r from the other corner. So 4r was equal to root 2a. We are using the same correlation in the next case as well. So root 2a is equal to 4r, and if I replace for a as 4r by root 2 here and take 2r as common, then I get x by r to be equal to under root 2 minus 1, which is approximately equal to 0.414. So this indicates that the largest possible atom that can fit into an octahedral void is having its size, which is roughly little smaller than the half of the size of the corner atom. Overall meaning is both the tetrahedral voids and octahedral voids are relatively small in their size. The size of the tetrahedral void is much smaller as compared to the size of the octahedral void. Any doubt up to this point in the derivation? Okay, so here is the summary. We have total 8 number of octahedral, 8 number of tetrahedral voids per unit cell, because all those values lies precisely in the unit cell. While if you count the octahedral voids, I counted it 13 in the previous case. But out of the 13 valleys, only the central valley lies completely within the unit cell, while all other sites are being shared equally between 4 unit cells. So each of those 12 valleys only contribute 1/4 of its total size to the unit cell. So 12 divided by 1 by 4, that comes out to be 3 effective number of valleys, and 1 full from the center makes the octahedral voids per unit cell to be equal to 4. So effective number of octahedral voids in the unit cell is equal to 4. Remember this. Why it is so? Because the valleys that lies in the middle of the sides do not 100% lie within the unit cell. Its effective contribution is only 1/4. And we can also compute the number of voids per atom. Now, how do I find that? To find that, you have to divide the number of voids by the number of effective atoms in the unit cell. For FCC, the number of atoms in the unit cell is equal to 4. You remember the number of effective atoms was 4. So if I divide number of voids, which is 8, by number of atoms, which is 4, it comes out to be voids per atom, which is equal to 2. And for octahedral voids, your effective number of atoms is 4 in the FCC unit cell. Voids is also 4. So voids per atom is 1. Their positions are, for tetrahedral void, it is 1 by 4, 1 by 4, 1 by 4. And for octahedral void, one of the void lies at 1 by 2, 1 by 2, 1 by 2, while the remaining 12 lies at 1/2, 0, 0. Now, why I am calling it 1/2, 0, 0? Because it is one of the side face. So I consider the origin at the position as one of the edge of that particular side. So that is why the edge centers are being referred as the octahedral voids. Is it clear? Okay, I guess it is clear to everyone the number of valleys, their position, their radius ratios. You should remember these quantities. We will frequently require these figures in dealing more complicated problems within the unit cells. We are running out of time, so we are closing our today's discussion. We will continue to discuss more examples of the unit cell in subsequent class.